Lovers, gentle lovers, this is SlapperCast. Slap a number on this baby right now.
Episode 333.
333. Triple.
Right.
Triple. All right. This week we're going to have our good friend Rick Gillis. He's going to be on with us. This is going to be let's just say a higher caliber conversation than we've usually had on here, where we're not killing songs or making fun of the music stands and the sheet music and the backing tracks and all that stuff. So it's a little bit more highbrow today, but we're hot off, and I mean hot off the T-Bone Tom's show down at, tremendous. I spoke to, we just played T-Bone Tom's, Kemah, Texas last Friday night. And sweltering, it's getting back up there. The temperature's coming. Summer is definitely back. Whatever they told you about cool temp, no, it's nice down there, but just we had a ball down there. I did email the manager, the GM down there, Jeff, emailed him, thanked him profusely. What a wonderful, the staff, everybody's so friendly, packed, hot, food is great, just can't beat it. We had Caden Newton come in and he helped with the gear, sold everything we have. Just a tremendous asset. Somebody here with the capital T, they should be very proud. And I had so much fun. I think I must have lost about 20 pounds in just sweat alone. That was the thing. Anybody else get warm last night?
That was definitely, I was like, oh yeah, I remember what this feels like. But as we were saying too, it wasn't nearly as, we've had some nights there that were way rougher than that. So that's still coming. I don't know if we're playing there next month, but if we play there in August, it'll be even tougher. Sometimes it feels like you're just trying to move through molasses. The humidity is so thick, and it wasn't quite. Once the sun went down, it wasn't quite as bad last night, but it was still pretty humid.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the sun's got something to do with that heat, but I could be wrong. We've definitely played in higher temperatures. I think it's coming off this. We've had a beautiful spring, and it's been. The mornings have been beautiful. The evenings have been beautiful, and the humidity's been lower. So I think it was definitely the shock to my system, seeing the water roll off, like the sweat pour off, like an open spigot, just pouring down my arm. I was looking down. I was like, "Where's that coming?" I thought I was shot. I thought it was just blood. It was just nonstop. And that's when I was like, it was pretty intense, but really, really fun show. I think that might have been. Let me ask you both first. Can you think of your favorite song yet? Because I know mine. Usually I don't. I do today. Do you have a favorite song from last night?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Who goes first?
Go ahead, Chad. You can go first.
Running Back.
Oh, you stole mine.
Everybody say hello to Chad Richard Smalley on the bass. Hi, Chad.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I was good, but it wasn't. It didn't beat Rock and Roll Paddy.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Paddy's my number 2. Yeah.
No.
Copperhead was good too. The intro kind of botched, but I like that song.
Oh no, I like the song, but I don't. Nothing came close to Rock and Roll Paddy last. I want to hear the recording.
I don't think our SlapperCast family here knows that we have little onstage competitions about when it's crazy hot like that. I know we've got Home Sweet Farms coming up too, I believe, but we have a competition. Who sweats the most? There's times where I win, but you're pretty solid, boss man. And so last night when we first started, I could see it dripping off you too, and you go like this, and the sweat just goes across the drums, and I'm like, oh man, he just pepper sprayed me with his sweat. Like, all right, we're all going for second place. I was like, I just got pepper sprayed, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, R. Kelly stole that move from me, but he upped it. Well, that was the humidity down there. I love the sea breeze. I love the ocean breeze, and I love that. But the humidity intensifies so much down there in that.
Yeah, it does. It's insane.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. It was really good having Caden down there. That was really fun. Caden was a big hit with the waitresses. Woo! So I got to hang out with that kid.
Yeah, the one came up to me. She's like, he's so cute. I'm like, back off. Back off. What's your intentions? What's your intentions?
Grandpa Turbo is her intentions.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, I need to see what your 401k looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell her, you say, your work doesn't speak for you. You do. You should
Yeah.
tell her that.
Well done.
Hey, wait a minute. That could be a preview of things to come. We're going to introduce our dear friend, Rick Gillis, rickgillis.com. Like I say, it's a little bit more educational than we've done before, but Rick is a wealth of knowledge. Rick is he's a man of the world, likes photography, snap, snap, grin, wing, nudge, nudge, say no more, say no more. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on this episode of SlapperCast, we have young Rick Gillis. Long-time friend, short-time listener, huge attention span, and a monster in the Houston scene. You cannot spell rock without Rick. And I've known Rick since, I want to say, the 90s. Is that about right?
You know what? I figured it out. Mary and I just celebrated 30 years. After we got married, we moved to Houston, so we're getting close to 30 years, buddy.
Wow.
Pretty awesome.
30 years. Yeah, so this redhead beside you, this is that Turbo you have not met. So we're meeting for the first time on SlapperCast. Turbo, Rick and Chad know each other for years as well.
Yeah, Rick and I met at Beverly Pub, the same place I met you.
Wow, is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I did quit drinking a lot of years ago, but I think that was before.
I remember.
Wow.
I think I'm still owed bail money. In all seriousness, Rick and I have known each other for a long time. And would you say, Rick, we talk about once a month, once every 2 months?
Yeah.
Would that be about right?
Not often enough. But I do follow.
That's the correct answer.
I follow you guys from show to show to show. I know where you're at. I know when you're in Ireland. I know the whole. Yeah, I love it. I love what you guys do.
Yeah, Rick was on the ball the first time we did the Irish tour. He said, "You have to market this. This is where Turbo and you." Let me ask you this. Let me just right off the bat. So Rick and I have nothing in common. Rick's talented. He's got, married 30 years, all that stuff. But you and Chad have a huge, huge thing in common with the Beatles. Would that be a fair says? Now you and Turbo also you guys have got, you're great entrepreneurs, but you're also, I think your biggest common space would be Red Bull. And am I going to say sugar-free Red Bull? Is that still a thing, Rick Gillis?
Sugar-free.
Turbo,
Sugar-free, yes, sir.
Sugar-free.
See?
Light blue can.
You guys think I don't pay attention. I pay attention, but that's all I know.
The only thing is, Rick, it is 2:30. It is kind of late in the afternoon. You're starting to get in that caffeine cutoff time. You know what I mean?
And you know what? This is the last one.
No.
Fall out on you guys. So I thought I better do one now. Yeah. This will take me to 9:00 easily. Yeah.
No. Caffeine's like good woman. There's always a good time for it. Don't ever say that again. The reason why we have Rick on is because there's many, many, many things. We're going to go back to the beginning of our relationship when we first met. It was Rhino Room in the 90s in the Shepherd Square. And I don't believe it was my first show. You saw one of my very, very first performances and you said, "What an idiot. I mean, why would you even waste your time? It's awful. Don't do it again." No, you said, you called Lynette Gordon, the manager at the time, and you called her and you said, "Hey, what's that hairy guy?" We became fast friends. And I remember Susie Q. I remember trying to do a recording of Susie Q back in the day. Many, 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 many things happened. We've been through your kids becoming dads, all that stuff. And I've been saying for a long time, you got to get you on here. But Rick is now a published author of how many books now is it?
Well, I've unpublished more than I've published now. I've got 3 out. True story. Because my problem is matter of fact, this book is not even available anywhere, but I still got them because I write something better to follow up on it. And so there's I don't want to sell somebody something and short them because the next book is the better one. So I unpublish them. So yeah, I've written 8 books. I've got 3 that I make available right now. There's these 3 behind me. You can see those. There you are. And this one's my newest one. Your work does not speak for itself. You do. And it's my smallest book, and it's it's what you kind of wanted to talk about. So I'll let you take it from there.
When I first met you, you were one of the top, if not the first, in HoustonJobs.com, correct?
Very first, HoustonEmployment.com.
Employment.
And then
Yeah.
they didn't honor what they were going to give me. So I went over to this guy, Steve Carr, who was starting up HoustonJobs.com. And I said, bring me on. I'll take you to number one. And it took me a year. I got him to number one, and we never looked back. Now, the thing is, though, the internet is such a amorphous, a malleable thing. What none of us knew at that time, we thought we were on top of the world because we had HoustonEmployment.com, Houston Jobs, all this stuff. The fact is, nobody was going national. We were all thinking local. And then Monster came down, and there was never even a Texas Jobs. It went straight to Monster, and Monster was out of Boston, and they just slaughtered the whole thing. And now Monster is a non-entity. It's still alive. I looked it up the other day, actually. But Indeed.com, et cetera, et cetera. That's where it is in the employment space, but it's all exactly the same model, all of it.
Brilliant. Now, so that takes me to the book. So years and years and years of Rick Gillis doing his thing. RickGillis.com, just so you know. Bring us up to date. Start, because the first one was basically, I tell people, I've told Turbo, I've told many people your knowledge of of resumes, presenting yourself, knowing your worth, this stuff. So take us through the journey of Rick.
Well, I'll tell you what, I still do that. The reason I even tell anybody that I was involved in selling job boards is because I did it for 10 years for 2 companies. And that's a long time to be doing effectively the same thing. But what was happening is I was learning by osmosis. I was just embracing this whole thing because every time I heard an HR manager or a staffing manager upset about something, I was learning something. Or when I saw their best practices and what they liked seeing on a resume or what they didn't like. And pretty soon I got asked to speak. And that at the time, a couple of recessions hit. And there was this one big church on the north side of town, and they had a weekly job, meeting to help support unemployed people. And there were, the recessions were bad. They were really bad. And so they asked me to come up there and speak. And that led to about a year and a half of speaking. That led to speaking all over the nation, literally all over the country. If it was bad, I was getting called in. I spoke from the East Coast to the West Coast, north to south, for about 8 or 9 years. But the fact is, there's no money in speaking to unemployed people. Think about it. They can't afford to pay you. So I started writing these books, and I ended up making more money selling books, speak for free, cover expenses, sell books. And that's where I kept writing these books. But like I said, every book would supersede the last one. And it was because I was continuously speaking that I was continually learning best practices, and got to a point there where I still consider myself an expert in job search. I understand all the software and all the processes and the way. I've developed my own resume format, which is very simple. And at first people look at it and they go, oh, there's not enough information on this thing. And I'm like, this is exactly what you need, because a recruiter is a human person who does not actually read 1,200 words on a single page. They want to see it spaced out. And I also teach people the keywords game, which is so micro simple. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and share that with you. People rewrite their resumes continuously to shove all the keywords that are in that next posting they're chasing down. That's just the dumbest thing ever, because by the time you finish that up in the next day or two, there are 2,000 or 3,000 resumes ahead of you. You just cannot do that. So what I have is a resume format that I have developed, that at the very top under your header, I have a seeking statement. I am seeking the position of, fill in the title from the job posting you're looking at. Reference number, fill in the reference number for X company. That's it. The seeking statement. Make that. Here's another thing that you need to know in regard to that. The very first job that most people get in human resources is as a recruiter. And it's just, they just throw piles and piles of stuff at you. And if you make it a year, you're probably going to start getting promoted and you'll be in human resources. But the fact is, so many people run away because it's just an onslaught of mind-numbing work. And I used to see all these young people looking at all these hundreds of resumes a day. And of course, there's software now that scans all that stuff. It doesn't matter. There's still 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 resumes coming in, which in the old days when it was online and electronic, it'd be maybe 100, 200, 300. Think about that. I mean, you don't know what you're doing, and you're getting all these resumes. You don't know what they say. There's all these different formats. So I created a header. After that, the seeking statement, the position I am seeking, reference number, and that's it. And underneath that, I put, as a result of my skills, experiences, and education, I am capable of, and you tell them what you're going to do for them. As a result of my skills, experiences, and education, I am capable of, complete the sentence. Kicking ass for your company. Boom. That's all you're trying to say. One sentence. Underneath that, and this is the process that I put people through that takes quite a bit of time, although I've had a couple just knock it out of the park very, very quickly. But that is, I put people through the process of doing an accomplishments inventory. And the fact is, the only reason you're going to get hired is because you can validate, you can prove that you have done what you said you're going to do on this resume. So the next, under the seeking statement, I have specific accomplishments, 4 of them. Not 3, that's too few, and not 5, that's too many, but 4 accomplishments. And it's what and wow is my model. I was responsible for what that resulted in wow. And I always tell this story because back before I moved to Houston, I was in commercial real estate in El Paso. And one of my very best, far and away, my best achievement when I was there, and I did it for 10 years, I was responsible for saving, as a result of creating a new commercial lease document, I saved my company $2.5 million. Well, a hiring manager reading that's going to say, wow, how did you do that? So I call that the what and wow statement. What I did, give me a wow, and then the next bullet, and then the next bullet, and then the next bullet. So when I work with clients, it's not negotiable. I require them to give me a list of 8 to 10 personal best accomplishments where I work them through it. They have to write down the who, what, where, when, why, and how, plus any dollars made or saved. Saved is the same as making money. So we put all that together, and then I can look at that, and it's just because I've done it for so long, I can extract responsible for X that resulted in Y, period. And there's 4 of those bullets, and now I've got and see, that's specifically written for the hiring manager. Because when a hiring manager gets a resume that says, I've made all this money, I have saved all this money, they're looking at this thing going, I have to talk to this person before somebody else gets them. And then underneath that, I have an employment summary. It is the name of the company, it's the dates you worked there, and very little else. Oh, and the job title that you held. That's it. That's all we need, employment summary, because some people list 15, 18 different companies, especially if you're my age, and it's just pablum. It doesn't make any sense. But if you just put the name of the company, the dates you worked there, and the title you held, not all 6 jobs, just the last one you left, and put them down, employment summary. Now, when you flip it over to page 2, it starts with employment history. Honestly, on page 2 and 3, I don't care what you do. Nobody's going to read all that stuff. They're going to call you in based on page 1. So after employment summary, we go down to education, special trade skills, licenses, that kind of stuff. And underneath that, I have a section called keywords. Those keywords are terms that came out of, first of all, just working up somebody's resume. I pull up all these keywords, and those are specifically, they're specialized terms. Like you guys, as musicians, you have all kinds of terminology you use among yourselves. Those are keywords. And so I take this, I don't care if you're IT, I don't care if you're oil and gas, I don't care if you're an engineer, but you have specific terminology, and those terms appear in the job posting. So we put them at the bottom of the page, and this now can be reduced to 10 point, and I've had some people reduce it as low as 8 point, as small as 8 point, because you can put 200 or 300 words down there, and this is not for the person who's reading it, it's for the software to see your resume, see all this accumulated keywords that are in the job posting, and shove you to the top of the pile. Now, I also tell my clients when I'm working with them, look, nobody knows this idea. I've been promoting it for years and years and years, but the fact is, when they say, what's with all these keywords down here? Well, say, take credit for it, as if you did it yourself, as if you thought of it. Just say, it just makes a lot of sense to me, and I can't rewrite the resume all the time. So I just keep adding the appropriate keywords down at the bottom, and you never take them out. If you wrote them in for one job, you leave them there. If it's repetitious, you don't repeat it, but you just keep, and I had one guy, seriously, an IT guy, who 1/3 of his page was keywords. And I saw that and I just started laughing. And he and I are actually good friends now. But I just started laughing. I said, what the hell? He says, hey, it worked. I got the interview. I got the job. He walked in. The first thing they said, what the hell's with all these keywords? And he said, hey, I'm here, aren't I? That's all you want. You want an interview. That's all you're looking for is an interview.
That's it. You want to open the gate. I mean, I will say this. I've probably hired a couple hundred people over my career. I don't think I've ever read a complete resume. Never.
Fair.
When they have the previous jobs and it's 15 bullet points of what they did, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care.
No, and I'll tell you what, there's a problem there too.
In the dental industry, there's this big like bank inside one of our systems, and where doctors, when they own these types of scanners, they can go in and see the labs that are options that can take this type of scanner. Well, it's alphabetical. Once we realized that, I submitted ours as period, contour, balance. Boom, we're before the A's. The symbols came in front, same thing. And all my buddies in the industry were calling me like, how did you get to be number one? And they didn't realize that I had this little hidden period. And, but same thing. It's
I wouldn't even know that. That is great, Turbo. I'm just not doing this anymore to speak of, so I'm not staying current. That is really cool.
So my question for you, Rick, is, the young kids, everything is digital, right? And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of aspects of it. But the follow-up, on the jobs, it's I'll just send them an email. I'll send them a message, right? Because they text you about the interviews now. And so they text you like updates and, I can just reply to this. And I'm like, I haven't seeked a job other than, probably the most recent would be, Blaggards. But I was like, hey, let's talk on the phone, and that's really where you get the connection. I don't know if I would have got it if I'm just sending messages. Maybe you get an audition, but I just feel like the calling is so important. And my question for you to summarize is, do you still recommend people to do that? I mean, am I getting outdated here?
I'll tell you, man, that is so antique. It's comical. And yes, I would do it too. And I would tell young people to do it as well, because you're going to be the one that's going to break through, because you actually took the initiative to take the chance. And I'll tell you what, it's hard. Even me, if I was out there right now applying for a job, it's difficult. What am I going to say? Do I look okay? Am I right? Are they going to put me on video or whatever? You're thinking all this stuff. In other words, we're overthinking it. But young people are not in the habit of getting on the phone and making a phone call on their own behalf. And I will tell you, the one thing I would say is, and it's no different than an old person or a young person, you're going to have to coach them up for that first sentence. Hi, my name is Rick Gillis. I submitted my application I'm really interested. Can I talk with somebody about that? Shut up.
That's what I did. I wrote him a script.
Excellent.
And said, when you call, just read this first sentence. That's all you got to do. It's kind of like you're saying, right? Your work doesn't speak for yourself. I tell them, you don't have to talk about the job. Just say, hey, look, I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to be reliable, and I'm not going to give you any problems. That's what they're worried about.
Let me tell you what.
When you're 17 years old, they're worried about you being a problem employee.
No, that last sentence right there, I will show up on time, is gold. I always go back to this story, and it's a true story. When I was 18 years old, I had just graduated high school, and there's a lumber yard 2 blocks down the street from where I lived, and they were hiring. Matter of fact, it was a strike. All the truck drivers were on strike, and they were hiring everybody they could. So anybody who walked in literally was getting a job. Well, I had always been told you show up at a job in a suit. So I put on the suit I wore 2 nights before graduation, and I walked 2 blocks down this lumber yard, walked in, everybody's in blue jeans and boots and, gimme caps and all this stuff. And here's this clown in a suit. I got in line with everybody else. I got up to the front, and I told, and Mr. Cordell Dykes was the man. He was the supervisor, and he's it's not interviews. He's just looking at you and saying, yeah, don't look like, it looks like you got 2 arms, 2 legs. You got eyes. They seem to work. Here's a hard hat. Here's gloves. Get down to the yard. So I got up to him in my suit, and he looks at me, and he just that's all he does. And I said, Mr. Dykes, I said, for every $1 you pay me, I'll give you $10 back. And he looked at me, and he kind of looked around for a second, and he reached back, and he grabbed a hard hat and fired it across the desk, and I caught it. And he said, why don't you go home and change and get your ass back down here? And I worked for that man for about a year. And then they put me inside the store in retail because I had grown up in the hardware business. But that's what it took, me to tell him he was going to get benefit from me. And they did. They did. Matter of fact, I left when I joined the Air Force. That's the only reason I left. I probably would have been young management in that place. But if you can prep your son for just those first 4 or 5 or 6 words, literally just that, don't overwhelm him, he'll finish the rest of it and he'll do it well, if assuming he wants it.
So in this latest book, all this stuff is available. All this stuff is, where do you go to talk? What's your dream venue? Where do you want to go and sell this book? Where do you want to, where's number one right now?
You know what? It's purely Amazon. That's where that's where I sell the book. I mean, there's nobody out there. I wouldn't even want a traditionally published book, because if you go to a publisher, you're going to be responsible to them for the 30, 40, 50, 60,000 they put up front. You're not going to make any money at all. You don't make any money selling books. You make money speaking.
So Amazon, we know Amazon's it's a fucking hole. It's just a massive hole, right? So
yeah.
How does Rick Gillis get in front of the speaking engagement? Obviously we'll get it on Amazon, that's no problem. But how do we get you from there to the top speaking, and where is that spot? That's why I'm confused.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's really interesting you're asking me that, Patrick, because this new book, and I'll put it up on screen, Your Work Does Not Speak for Itself, You Do. This came out of job search, but that's not what this book is about. This book is about a thing that I created. Matter of fact, let me show you this other book called The Quotient, QTNT. And so all I did is I just removed the vowels from QTNT and trademarked it. So I own the trademark for this QTNT term. The quotient is a model I created for the purpose of determining the value of somebody who earns a paycheck. Now, I got to tell you, when I was writing, matter of fact, one of the other books, when I was researching it, I was talking with this chief financial officer, man, and I was lucky as hell to get him because he had just retired. He was a chief, Memorial Hermann, one of the big giant hospital groups here in town. He was a chief financial officer. And so I was interviewing him for a book, and I had about 2.5, 3 weeks where he was between things, and I was able to call him several times and ask him. And he's an advisor to me now. But he told me, he said, Rick, he said, your quotient is groundbreaking. And I said, why? He said, because there has never been a way to measure the value of somebody who earns a paycheck. And that's why we have performance reviews. Now, a salesperson, because I've been both 100% sales and I've been 100%, and I guess Turbo you have too, right? I gather, right?
Oh, yeah.
100% commission, 100% sales. When you're selling, man, exactly, everybody knows you sold something or you didn't. But when you're on a paycheck, they don't know if you're really holding your end up or not, especially if you're really in a big company, which is why you see some people manage to skate for years and years and years. The quotient changes all that. And I'm going to tell you the secret. This is so mind-boggling simple. And I'm no rock science rock star at all. The quotient is nothing more. Well, let me back it up just a second. This is what I used to put all of my clients through. I put them through this quotient model. I didn't realize what I was doing was groundbreaking. Okay, I would ask somebody for the value of an accomplishment they did on a job, et cetera. They could tell me they generated $300,000 revenue, they saved $2 million, whatever. I would take that value and divide it by their base pay. That's it. That is what the quotient is. Nothing more than taking the value and dividing it by your base pay. And that's what, this guy told me. He said, this is groundbreaking. Nobody's ever been able to do this. Now, and here's what's important about this. You need to know the quotient is for those things you do over and above what your job requires. Because first you have to meet your salary. You have to meet your requirements before you start counting anything that is over and above in terms of performance. So if you don't make the grade, it doesn't even matter how much more you did unless you saved the boss's daughter or wife or something from being killed or something, whatever. You just won't, that's just the way it is. But the quotient is so remarkably simple. And I go back to when I was doing commercial real estate. I came up with a process for, long story short, I came up with a commercial lease document. We had 26 office parks across the nation. I used to manage the one in El Paso. I came up with a commercial lease document that my boss saw and went, whoa, took it to national. They embraced it. A year later, he comes back to me and he says, Rick, your doc saved the company $2.5 million. And I'm like, whoa. Now that was just in 1 year. They would continue to benefit from that. But if at the time I was making $56,000, and if you take $2.5 million divided by 56,000, my quotient was something like 43 or something, meaning I saved the company 43 times my base pay. Now, that is when people know this can happen and they could get a piece of the action. They could get a 1% bonus, is $2.5 million. If they save $10,000, maybe they'll get $350. That is reinforcement, and accomplishment mindset is set. And if you get everybody in the company thinking like that, it's a steamroller. So that's what this book is about. And I'll tell you what, this book is actually, and I hate to turn around on you, it's actually the Leveling the Playing Field book, which I wrote for women overcoming pay disparity. But I took that book and I condensed it, and then I condensed it again, and then I condensed it again. This is the smallest book I've ever written. It is nothing more than a how-to use the quotient at all aspects. And there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of different scenarios. But I also have 11 Q studies in this book. Each Q study is a true story of somebody I worked with. Matter of fact, I tell my real estate story in there as well. But I break it down and show you how I calculated this stuff. And let me tell you what, this kid here is no mathematician. This is all arithmetic. Every bit of it, so I can do it myself. Yes.
And again, this is asking how long is a piece of elastic, but I'm going to ask anyway. So who is the number one target? Who do you want reading this book right now?
Well, I want anybody who's working to read it. That's too broad an answer, but that's a true story. I am now getting it out. I was approached. You guys may or may not know an organization called PMI, Project Management Institute. It's 3.2 million members globally now. It started back in the 80s. I speak at Project Management in PMI functions fairly regularly, and I'm getting back into it. I did my first one the other night for the Houston chapter, 75 people in the room. I took 60 books. I sold 40. You never hit numbers like that when you sell books. It just doesn't happen. So they were excited about it. One of the women who's the president of that chapter currently, and I talked, and I did not know she has a school. And she is teaching military on 4 college campuses in Houston, military bases, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Bliss in El Paso, and Fort Carson in Colorado. And she's teaching military people business courses, and she wants to bring the quotient in. That's an ideal place for me to be. I have other people that are talking to me like this, and so I have some opportunities that I'm developing. I also just started working with somebody developing the app, because this thing, it should be in everybody's phone. And I want that accomplishments mindset. I want people paying attention, because, a young person learning this now and say, I saved the company $750. That's not a lot of money, because we're old farts. Young people, that's still a lot of money, and that's a big win, and it should be noted. So, and if that person learns to save $750 and do it better, the next time maybe they're saving 3,000, 10,000, 15. This accomplishments mindset is one of my big pushes. That's really what I want to put across out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and that's exactly what I was thinking that you were going to say. And the reason why I'm asking that, because it looks to me, I haven't applied for a job since the 90s, which has been lovely.
Either. Right.
Yeah. So, but I mean, at the same time, I see these people flailing. I see the younger people flailing, because there is this, and of course, what are we doing right now? We're speaking on a fucking screen, but we are losing our days. We're losing our hours. I'm in a different place right now. This is actually it's a morgue. I'm trying to get lucky, but I had to take my stuff to get to rearrange it, so I'm not in my space. And it took me, I was late getting in. I was early setting up, but I was late getting onto the thing, because it's just. So we're losing all this time to screens, and we're losing all this time to our phones and our what I call the fake shit, right? The fake stuff, excuse me. This time that could be spent pounding the pavement or talking to going after that job that you want, loaded with your information. And people do not know, where to go. They don't know the Rick Gillis way. right? But they also don't know then what to do with it. I mean, when they get there. And you can say shoot for the stars. You can give all this, all this lullaby crap, and tell them this is what the thing. So it drives me up the wall. I have this theory too. If people that stay online and play video games and waste their day on screens, I think that they're actually working back towards their virginity. I think they're trying to get their virginity back or something. But it's not a it's not it's I'm getting frustrated. I'm sweating right now thinking of just it annoys me so much. So your biggest platform right now, I'm going to guess, is LinkedIn. Is that you? Where's your biggest?
That is my sole social platform because I've got over 10,000. I don't know, followers and connections, and so I get a lot of bang every time I put a post up. I mean, sometimes I'll put a post up and it'll get 17 views. Other times I'll put a post up and it'll get 3,500, 4,000. And then I don't even know where it goes after that. So I continue pushing it. So I do. The thing is, I'm not trying to be a social butterfly. I try to post when I have something to say that's valid, whether it's topical, newsworthy, that kind of thing. Jump in. Of course, everything there is about employment, and I'm pretty much everything about employment. So let me tell you what, I'm going to go back to, and I should have started the very beginning of this conversation with this. I remember reading in my very first business class in community college at El Paso, and I remember opening that first book, and the very first sentence said, as soon as you have an original idea, you are a minority of one. Well, I'm now getting to be a minority of about 75 or 100. I'm trying to get to grow this thing out, and it needs to grow organically. I'm not going to buy, ads and put them up in Times Square or anything else. It's got to be organic, and that mostly means people talking about it. And so I am getting a little bit, but like I said, if I can get just little footholds here and there that people will share and wonder about it, because I'll tell you what, this book, you don't need me if you have this book. And I really do mean that. It is so simply written. It is so easy to read by design. And there's no way a college freshman couldn't handle this all the way out. But it's valid enough that C-suite can see it and say, look, we need to take this in the company. I do have a pending. I actually have a friend of mine that's trying to get the course. I've already built a course out, certified for UTSA. He teaches at UT San Antonio. And so I sent him my model the other day because he said, you need to build a whole training course on this. I said, I've already done that. He said, you're kidding. And I said, no. I said, I don't have anywhere to take it, so I haven't done it yet. But I do have a couple of places pending, commercial operations that want me to go in and do it, but I have not presented it yet. I think it's a 5 to 6 hour course, so it's a Saturday kind of thing. But it's where I take and I stop and I get everybody thinking accomplishments. I want them to be engaged. I want a breakout session. I want one whole room session. I've got all this set up. So everything is getting ready. And then this person at UTSA, he's also saying he thinks that he can get this training session approved as a course, which would then take me into the UT system, which would be a really great place. Because if I could train 3 or 4 or 5 people to be teaching this stuff, that would be nirvana for me. That would be the best. I want people to be able to answer a question as quickly as I can, or thinking on their feet, come right back and say, here's my best recommendation. Let's try this. And of course, as long as I'm around, I want to be available to these people.
Yeah, that's what this is why I was insistent that we get Turbo in from his Pilates class this morning and his ballet dancing. And Chad has said more times than not also about when we talk about, when we promote Blaggards, it's not verbatim, but Chad's thing is, look, the product speaks for itself, and that's what you're saying. When we apply for a festival, or we go after an area that we haven't been before. That's Chad saying, is he's like, hey, we can send them the frilly words, or we can show them what we do, and that's why he's our man behind the buttons, and he edits and things like that. And I just think it's because Rick, I know you so well, and I've known you so long. And Turbo is he's the new kid. He and I, that he was talking earlier, but that was our introduction to each other was, look, you don't text me. Let's talk on the phone. And then he pulled a fast one. He goes, hey, here's a picture of my wife. Am I in? I say, okay, you're in. But
You always say that story too.
I know. And again, this is another thing that's in common with you got in common with Rick. Rick was always like, oh man, you should see my wife. And he wasn't lying either. I was like, God, all right, fucking show up.
I'm a number one fan, man. So I talk about what I care about.
I know.
Sorry, I want to interrupt for 1 second. So you got one more follower on LinkedIn, and I found your book on Amazon, and so I grabbed a few of them. I want to give them to a few people in my network. So
thank you, man. Thank you. There's any opportunities, I'll speak to small groups. I don't need some big room, And
I just something that I did, and I just I sorry, Paddy, I cut you off, but something too is even after they get the employment, right, and they get going, like you said, and I think I can't wait to get into the book and dig into it, but they always will come to me, and typically the number one question I get is, I want more money, right? That's however they frame it. That's the number one thing. When they say, can I talk to you for a second? I already know they're teeing that up. So what I did in the company is, for some of the positions, I created these tiers, and not for necessarily pay. They have, your level tech 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
But when you get to a level 4, you now have the opportunity when there's a certain amount they have X amount of work that they got to get done every day. When it's done, you can go home and you still get your full day's pay. So when I had it, so now I said, well, instead of giving you money, I'm going to give you time. And so, which is more than money. So we had one gal here that she's like, you have no idea how much of a raise I got, because I no longer have to pay for after school daycare.
Wow.
She comes, headphones on, crushes. Now she's averaging 5 hours a day. And I'm like, everybody's like, you should give her more. I'm like, no, she's hitting exactly what I need, this is the benefit of fitting into that system. She's like, I'm never leaving. Like, for how much she's made or saved with the daycare. Now she's home with her kids. She's home before traffic. She's like, and she doesn't. And one thing, I didn't do this because of this was an afterthought, is I have less people I have to manage throughout the day. She's not here. That's less time she's using the bathroom, less time they're doing, it's freedom for us. Her manager goes, I have one less person I have to check in on all throughout the day.
Turbo, what do you do? I don't know what you do. What's your business?
I own a dental I'm a drummer of a badass band. That's what I do.
Okay, that's cool. I got that one. But you own a dental lab.
I own a dental laboratory. So I'm
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Are you familiar with Rocket Health?
No.
It's because Rocket Health I have this thing, a pending presentation for them. It's a very small, fairly small group, 150 or so people, 150 plus. They're a dental group based in the Woodlands, Rocket Health.
Okay, I'll look them up.
So it's a collaboration of different dentists, and my dentist is one of the members. And so I am booked to speak to do the full day training for them in like February. But yeah, if there's any way I can,
you need a sponsorship for that, you let me know. We'll put a table up and throw some money in on it too.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can introduce you directly to my dentist who's a partner. I don't have a problem with that. He and I have, matter of fact, his name is right in the front of the book because he read every page and he did a lot of advising personally for me. No paid, nothing. He just believes in the idea.
Yeah, typically like Rocket Health, and I'm kind of speaking off tongue here, is they're what they do is the dentists will come together, even if they're independently owned. It's to help with their buying power.
Yes,
so,
of course.
They go to Shine, they go to the big companies and say, even the dental labs, and say, hey, we're going to give you access to the 100 doctors, but we want it for this price. And so we work with groups like this all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you want that introduction, I'm happy to make it.
Yeah, I'd be grateful. Thank you. I got one last question for Rick. Music question.
Go.
Since Paddy brought up the Beatles earlier, you can't use Beatles. Favorite group, favorite band.
Wow. I guess after
I know one that starts with a B if you need one.
I guess after Blaggards, I'd have to think about it. You know what? I got to tell you, man, I listen to movie music seriously while I'm working because it has no words. Like right now I'm looking at the Martian movie. I have the soundtrack. I have all these soundtracks and I just, toss them around because I can't work with words. there's words in the song. I'm listening to it and I go away, and that just ruins everything. So I listen to a lot of soundtracks and I mix them up. But yeah, Blaggards fun. Blaggards crazy. Blaggards good.
Hey, okay. Lightning round. Last song, and whoever. Do you see the little icon, the little hand icon right there? See that on your screen?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to ask the question. First one to answer it. Give me the last song that got stuck in your head. Go. And we'll cut this down. Da 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 da.
No,
I can't.
I can't even think of the name, man.
I mean, the last song I listened to is the one that's popping in my head right now, and it's a song from NoFX, Triple Rock. Oh, I love that song.
We played a show last night down in Kemah, T-Bone Tom's, and I have had Kerfuffle stuck in my head all day. And that's a bad sign because that means I'm going to rewrite something in it. So, Chad, what you?
I think PLFM. I often have the that thing looping in my head. That's the first.
Gotcha.
I know that's the frustrating thing about songs that get stuck in your head as earworms, and you can't get rid of it. And then now I can't remember any of them.
Well, that's it. That's where I'm at right now. It's at the Norwegian group. 3 guys. What was Call on Me? Hang on.
Aha.
Yeah. That tune is always somewhere in the back. It's just an amazing song, and the vocal is beyond remarkable.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to take all this information that we've had today. I know most people on SlapperCast are unemployed. You're not looking for work. You're all independently wealthy. You're sitting around just doing snow angels and cash. Don't worry about it. Still get the book. So go to rickgillis.com. I want you to just pick this book up because it's going to change your fucking life. That's what we're going to do here. Rick, I've known you for so long, and this has been a long time coming. I thoroughly enjoyed having you on here today. I mean, just it's just a wealth of knowledge, and we could have 10 hours and not get to it. So I cannot recommend this book, and I'm recommending it. Obviously, I haven't read it, but that's because I've known you for so long, and I've seen the progression. I've seen these songs.
Yeah, this has been a growth. This has been stair-step. Yeah, it has.
Yeah, and it's a necessity. And even if you're working, even if you're happily working, you can't have enough information behind you. You must be equipped and you must be armed with the tools of today to push forward. I love this.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you can make or save your company money unanticipated and you can get bonus from it, and you just have to be able to point it out. Hey, I saved you $1 million. I think a $10,000 bonus is reasonable, and that's not out of line. So
no.
Anyway, man, I'll tell you what, guys, thank you so much. Turbo, Chad, the man, the Patrick. Thank you, guys. Hey, and enjoy your Ireland. Be safe. Can't wait to hear about the stories on the other side.
Oh, we'll talk long time before that. But Rick Gillis, rickgillis.com. Email him at rick@rickgillis.com and ask him questions and buy that book. Let's get to let's get armed with the tools of today, and let's be confident in our work life.
Yeah, if you email, mention Blaggards. If I get an onslaught, I may not be able to get to it, so mention Blaggards.
I like that. Is it the Blaggards or just Blaggards?
Just Blaggards, dude.
Yes. All right.
When I hit stop, don't run off. Got to make sure we can get all the files. So we'll hang out and chat for just a couple minutes, okay?
Yeah, we call them Paddy files. So let's hang tight. But Rick, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. Chad, good seeing you. Turbo, nice meeting you, man. Look forward to talking.
Right. Thanks, Rick.
Paddy's pet peeve piece. Here we go again. Is he ever going to be unpeeved? The news media. You should have a vocabulary that's just a tiny bit, a CH as we say here on SlapperCast. You should have a vocabulary that's just a few percentage points above somebody that's been hit on the head by a 2x4. All right? If you're using the phrase, they were butt hurt in a news story on TV, that's why you're fucking TV shows are failing because you're speaking like you've been waterboarded for way too long. Trash. That one, butthurt. And what's the other one? Don't use the word bromance. Don't ever say that word. That's just so stupid. Such a goof. On national television. What is wrong with you? Anyway, there are more words and they're coming, but this is Paddy's pet peeve piece. I'm just telling you. That's how it is. Don't use those words. July is shaping up to be really nice. We're going to have Weston. We're going to have Home Sweet Farm. We're going to have Log On Cafe in Beaumont. We're going to do a private party. We're going to do a private pirate party. Say that 5 times. And we're going to be actually, if you've ever seen or heard or even wanted to know about our last record was called Blagmatic. We're doing a private party for the artist that came up with, the whole theme, the art, did everything for all the packaging, everything for us. We're doing a private party for his son, Jack. So we're doing that. We're looking forward to that. And we're doing Continental Club in Houston. That's we're going to put a link. We're going to put a link in here to get tickets. The tickets are $10 or $15 on the day of the show. Get your tickets sooner than later because we're gonna have, that's going to be a special show. We're going to put some new stuff in there. We're also going to have a quick, fast acoustic opener, and then we're gonna throw down.
I was going to say we got a highly sought after person who's opening for us. I've heard some good things about this guy.
I don't know about. I mean, I know there's high involved, but I don't know about sought after. Or maybe it's the law, but yeah. It's just we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it fun. We're gonna do it. It's always fun there, but it's just nice because they're, indoors. Last time we were outside. I'm gonna tell you something. That last time which is now closed, but the last time we did the beer garden at the Continental Club, I don't know if and it wasn't that hot, but it was the hottest, one of the hottest shows I've ever played. I mean, I don't know why.
Yeah, I think the humidity was 100%. Like it was just before we started playing, it was coming off my face. I'm like, oh God.
And we always talk about the Havasu show playing in 120 degrees in direct sunlight in black with black PA. I mean, that was but that Continental show was something. The backyard, there was something about it. I just couldn't move. Like Chad, like you said, the moving the molasses. That was that was a rough one.
Yeah, we've had a couple experiences just in the past year that just completely takes the cake of any. We played in some pretty vicious, many vicious temperature situations over the years, cold and hot. But we had two incidents in the past year. Right? There was one. Was it 2 years? When was the Sherwood one? Was that 2? It was 2 Sherwoods ago, wasn't it?
2 years. Yeah,
that was 115 degree direct sunlight for the entire set. And then there was the experience in Havasu you were mentioning, which we've referred to as the pizza oven experience. Which fortunately the sun did go down, but while we're setting up, it was absolute torture.
Tell the story. I need 2 turbo stories on 333 on SlapperCast. So I need the 2 stories, both from Turbo. The Havasu, when we arrived there, and the gates, opening the gate, and then the Sherwood show. I need the story of hitting the cymbal. Can you give us the 2 stories back to back, Turbo?
So the Sherwood show was first, and we have a backline kit, so it's out in the sun all day. Each band's using it. We come out there, and I think it was our second set, and we're playing, and I'm soaked, right? We're sweaty. It's already hot. It's blistering hot. And I grabbed a cymbal in one of the songs, and I just, I grabbed it. And I went to go take my hand off, and like there was resistance, and it was like, wait, what? And you don't really notice what's going on. And it was kind of like, and it kind of peeled off. And I was like, and all of a sudden I had this ball of sweat and like the chills in the back of my neck. And I was like, and I looked down and my fingers, it was like cheese.
Oh, fuck.
By the time the set was over, remember afterward, I had those giant bubbles. I was like, and so I had to pop them. Oh my God, dude. I was so glad it wasn't in my pocket fingers, because I would have had to put tape or something. Like it was, I could kind of get around it, but I was like, well, my fingerprints are on that cymbal. So
that was torture. Now give us the Havasu story. You remember that one?
Yeah, I went to open the gate, And
What was
just
it? What was the gate comprised of?
the metal gate. Yeah, just a steel gate. And you think I would learn my lesson, but I didn't learn my lesson. Next thing you know, I'm like using the shirt to open it, but it was like, like, dude.
Now, in fairness, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit more detail here, just to clarify. So we pull up to the show. We're in the van. We've got the AC blown, of course, because it's 120 outside, right? And the sun is baking down on this big, and it's this huge rusty iron. It's a rustic fence. It's built to look like that, right? But it's this huge, heavy duty metal fence, right? Well, Turbo jumps out of the car. Yeah, we're ready to go. He jumps out and he grabs the thing, and you just see him go. And if you think you've seen him red, you should have seen that. We should have had a camera going, because he got redder, and he got redder fast. It was.
Dude, that hurt.
And I know. I heard the shriek. I've heard him shriek when he thinks there's a blueberry glazed donut in his future. But this shriek sounded like it sounded like he had been abused by a hot poker in a place that you don't want stuff going in. No offense, Chad. The shriek of that gate when
that show was so hot. I had to go in the van. I felt bad because that's my hometown, but I go, if I don't get air, I'm going to pass out. I went next door to the ice cream place, and I got an ice cream, and I go, can I just sit in here? She goes, yes. You want a water? I mean, she was
That's
like,
right.
you okay? She's like, you look like you're going to get sick. I was like, I just needed like 30 minutes. So I had to kind of recover. I don't know if it was good to eat an ice cream, but I ate ice cream, and then we went and played a 3-hour show. But, oh, man, that was fun.
The other show that wasn't quite, it was another really rough heat situation, but it wasn't quite as bad as those two shows, was the first time we played at Lucky 19 Brewery in Huntsville.
Oh, yeah, that was hot.
And we were pushing these big wooden slats to try to block the sunlight, but it still wasn't enough. That was one of the times that my laptop, this laptop I'm using right now, refused to do anything. It just basically shut down. It couldn't record anything.
Yeah, I remember well. Yeah, what Chad's talking about is they have this huge flooring, these huge pieces of flooring that you use, with fake grass on top, and it's a gravel ground. So we took them and we leaned them against the fence so we could shade some. Because it's just everything is hot to the touch. Even your glass of ice water was getting a little burny at the end. One of the worst songs I've ever heard is if you're going to play in Texas, you've got to have a fiddle in the band. And the reason why I say that is because if you're going to play in Texas, you're going to have to learn to burn your hand. And that should be the song.
Yeah.
That's going to be it. I think we just have a new, I think we just wrote a song on SlapperCast here, episode 333. We are going to wrap this up because we've taken way too much of your time, but that's Chad. That's Turbo. I'm Paddy. We are so happy that you tuned in. This is SlapperCast. We hope to see you very, very soon. You still got time to come to Weston, so it's going to be, and if you don't know Weston, you haven't been watching SlapperCast. So go back and watch some of those episodes because we're going to be up in Weston, Missouri, Friday, Saturday, O'Malley's Pub, 8 to 11.
There just might be a few seats left on the bus by this point. So act fast. We sold out once before. We're going to sell out again. So
what Chad's talking about is Ireland this year, 2025. We've got another 10, 12 seats-ish. So you've got time to jump on if you want to. We had to add them because people are still asking to come along. So I talked to our good friend Stephen Ferris in Ireland, who you'll get to meet on this tour. Stephen is the number one Horselips fan in the world. And he's a dear friend, and you're going to get to meet him. You're going to get to meet some other people of note in Ireland. So come along and come and see where I grew up, and let's see where I was raised. And we're going to have a lot of fun. But thank you for tuning in, and thanks for your time, and welcome Rick Gillis.
All right, thanks, y'all. We'll see you next week.
See you.